何を夢見て海へ出た。お前らの命は叫んじゃいねえか。バギー座長が俺たちの失った光を刺激する。現状に甘んじた腰抜けどもよ、一番欲しいものに手を伸ばせ。取りに行くぞ、ワンピース。
What up? Welcome to Cool Kid TCG, and welcome to the general overview / guide for Buggy. I've been playing Buggy since the first possible day, OP09, it came out. That day I was scrambling to get some cards, but I've pretty much played it every single set. I have played some other decks, but Buggy's always been my favorite deck. In every set I try to cook it, try to bring it back at different times. I'm so happy we got the starter decks now, because now it actually seems incredibly viable. It went from just being a meme to actually being potentially good, so shouts to that. And another thing about me is I got 511th place at the Vegas Regional. That's important because the top 512 get additional prizing, so just made the cut. What's this all mean in general is that I'm mid as hell. So whatever I'm about to say, take that with a grain of salt, because I'm not the best player. I created this channel with the intent to record and put my content out there so I can watch it and talk with my friends about it and talk with other people about it as well, how I can potentially improve. Obviously the production value has gone up a little bit to make it more enjoyable, but the overall goal for me is I'm trying to get better, because again, I'm mid as hell. So if whatever I'm about to say, you should take that with a grain of salt. Having said that, in this particular video, I'm Buggy Al Gaib, I'm pointing the way, so let's get to it.
Man, I got a plan, I swear to you. All I think about is you guys. That's all I think about, man. That's all I think about is you guys and how I set you up for the best possible advantage I can give you to have a season. I swear to you, man. I just need you to trust me. That's all. Please.
For this portion, I'd like to talk about deck building. I'm going to go over some cards that to me are absolute staples in the deck and need to be running in some capacity. Most of these are running at 4 ofs. You could reduce it to 3 ofs maybe, or maybe even some 2 ofs. But for me, these are the absolute staples. You need to absolutely have them in your deck. So first off, let's start off with the Cross Guild Searcher event. This is a great card. One, we get to search top 4 for any Cross Guild, which our deck's like 90% Cross Guild. Triggers activate main, so never really becomes a brick off of life. And it can search itself, which I think is an underrated aspect to it. Pretty much, yeah, you can find pretty much any card in the deck. Moving on, the next card, very similarly, Galdino. This allows us to search Cross Guild and Baroque work, so it can pick up some of the tech cards we could run of the events, specifically Sables maybe. It also has counter. It's a character. Only downside to it is it can't search itself. So it's not like Cross Guild, but like most searchers can't search themselves, so it's kind of like that's okay. Moving on, the next one of the new cards, the Moji. I really like this card. One, it's a 2k counter. Anything that's a pseudo, it's a 4 cost, that's a pseudo 5 cost, really helps the deck. It really facilitates you being able to get the 10 cost Buggy out, because you could search with one of the 2 searchers before, still play this, and then slam down the 10 cost Buggy. Situational draw as well. It's kind of a weak body, so only want to play this late game. But yeah, can game blocker, can really help you. In a similar fashion, Kabaji, pretty much the same thing as Moji, except for instead of being able to draw you a card, it gains 5,000 power on your opponent's turn. This is pretty much a better card for playing early game. If you want to play either one of these two, play the Kabaji early, play the Moji late, but both of them help facilitate your leader effects for cheap. Moving on, to me, this Kabaji 2K is the best 2K to run in addition to the other two. I really like this one. I know next set people are running the vanilla 2K Buggy, and some are running the vanilla 2K Moji and Kabaji. I really like this one because of its effect of it can't be KO'd in battle. If you have a Buggy or Moji on board, which is incredibly easy to meet that condition now, I think this card can come in handy. Just as like we don't have We have Croc and Mihawk, which shuts off all removal, and now you have this card that cannot be killed in battle, so it becomes incredibly sticky. To me, I run this one at 4. Some people run it at lower. This is one of the few cards of the staples, in my opinion, that you could lower down if you like, but I like it at 4. Going on, maybe the best 4-cost, Alvida. Effect draw 3, trash 2, just absolutely insane. We get to cycle our deck. We get to find exactly the cards we're looking for and filter out bricks and cards we don't need for specific matchups. Absolutely love this card. It also meets it's a pseudo 5-cost, just exactly what the deck needed. Going on to the next one. This one's a little bit more controversial, maybe a little bit more topical, I should say. I have got a love-hate relationship with this card. I love the artwork of it, but at first when I read it, I thought this card was bad because of the way you could go down in hand size, but it just allows you to cheat out some 6 costs early, which in some matchups you absolutely do. Some poor matchups you need to high roll, and this is pretty much a card that allows you to high roll. I run it at 4. I could see it at 3. I could not see it at anything less than 3. Speaking of one of the cards that can cheat out is the 6-cost Mihawk. This needs to be run at 4. This card can be played off of the 4-cost Buggy. You can play it off Promo Buggy. It could just be hard casted. It's a blocker. It's an incredibly hard blocker to rest because it's 6 cost. The only thing that I think that really rests it is like the 7-cost Purple Sanji. For the most part, everything else is just, it can only be rested by like Hodies that rest anything. But most things can't rest the 6 cost, so just a strong blocker, high cost blocker, and it replaces itself in hand with a draw 2 trash 1. Moving on next to Promo Buggy. Love this card. This card will win you some matchups. It shuts off all aggression coming from 3s and 4s, which is huge. It can just win you matchups. Like it auto wins you against Bello Betty if you find it in time. It pretty much auto wins you against Doflamingo if you can find it in time. And it can also auto win you against Zoro if they're playing the animal package. So just an incredible card. Also cheats out a 6-cost on top of that, so you can cheat out the Mihawk. Just absolute insane card. I currently run it at 3. You need to run it, I think, at least 3. It could be 4. Next is the best. He's the MVP. He's the champ. Croc and Mihawk is the best card. It is a godsend. That card has so many periods on it. It does so many things. It's insane. I would run it at 8 if I could. I might run it at 12 if I could, because that's how great of a card it is. First off, it allows you to draw 2 trash 1. It replaces itself in hand already. It cheats out a 4-cost, which we know 4 costs can essentially be 5 costs now. And it protects your entire board. It protects itself as well, which most cards can't. Like most of the removal protection cards don't protect themselves. He does. It's insane. Absolutely busted card. Can't wait for the SP to be printed next set. And the last card, the star of the show, I guess, 10-cost Buggy. This is pretty much your win con. Your entire strategy is around cheating out bodies so you can fill your board, so you can summon this monster and have it stick and bottom deck. Now that we have the Croc and Mihawk, our board is able to stick a lot easier, so it's much easier to cheat this out. Plus, with all the 4 costs, we can do it on our 9-Dawn turn if need be. But yeah, this is pretty much your win condition. It's kind of just like stall until you can get to this point, cheat out the 10 costs, and then go on to win from there. So yeah, these are the absolute staples. I think for the most part, you need to run these at close to 4, 3 or 4 ofs. You can tweak it a little bit, but I don't think I would run any of these at less than 2. Next up, I wanted to talk about other cross-guild cards that not necessarily get into the build. You could still run them in some capacity, but I just wanted to address them. Let's talk about every single cross-guild card there is. So first off, we have Stage, we have Empty Bluffs. Before the starter decks, I was a huge believer in Stage. I loved it. It would fix your hand. Draw 2, trash 2 every single turn for the cost of 1 Dawn at one point in the game. To me, Stage was just a way to, like I said, fix your hand, up consistency. The problem is now the deck's incredibly consistent with all the draw 3, trash 2s, draw 2, trash 1s. We're running 8 searchers. You don't necessarily need to up the consistency anymore. So you could still run stage, but to me, I no longer run it. Next is Richie. I like Richie in terms of if you want to get a chump blocker and you need another blocker. I know that some other people have gotten kind of experimental with other blockers, but if you're going to run a blocker, I would just run Richie. Searchable off everything and keep you protected from Croc and Mihawk. Up next is another 2K in Moji, and Moji has the ability to play out the Richie. If you were going to play Richies, I would swap out the 5-cost Kabaji 2K for the Moji, just so you can have that Hail Mary to potentially play that Richie if need be. But if you're not playing Richies, to me there's other better 2Ks, so that's why he's been taken out of the deck. Up next, 5-cost Alvida. This is a very interesting card because it allowed you to kind of keep your board, and it could summon any 5-cost. You could even hit this out like some crazy combos of hitting like a pudding into it, which is kind of crazy. But now that we have the Croc and Mihawk, which prevents KO and prevents removal in general, she kind of doesn't have a place in the deck anymore. At least it's hard to find space, because her whole thing was if she had protection from KO, but now you just have protection from KO in general. You could still maybe find space, but to me, I don't think there's space for her anymore. Next is Vanilla Daz Bones, 5/7. Definitely could still run this on 1 or 2 of. It's got counter. It's a strong card. I just don't have space for it anymore. Getting into some of the promos now, we have the 4-cost Mihawk, and this card's definitely didn't get its shine in its era, because before the starter decks, this card absolutely would be in the deck. It would be run out of 4 of, because it allowed you a way to Buggy, to establish a body towards Buggy, and then also Buggy on 9 Dawn. That being said, the starter decks came out, and there's now 4 cards that essentially are 4 costs that have become pseudo 5 costs. So it's essentially Mihawk with way less steps. So I wouldn't run this Mihawk at all anymore, but it would have had its moment if we could have just got it earlier out in the West. Next is maybe one of the most playable cards out of all these is the 5/7 promo Croc. I've tested with this. I really like it. It bottom decks with 2000 power, which is actually pretty very useful. You can bottom deck a lot of blockers. You can bottom deck the Veggie blocker, which is very troublesome. You can bottom deck Bond Clays if you don't have the promo Buggy out to stop it from attacking. There's a lot of different things you could bottom deck that has a lot of adaptations, while at the same time still establishing a strong body. So I really like this card. I don't have space for it at the moment, but it's definitely one you could add back in at 1 or 2, in my opinion. Up next, this isn't really a cross-guild card because it doesn't have cross-guild typing, but I figured I'd talk about it, is the Daz Bones from EBO1. This used to be one of the best cards in the deck. You draw 2, trash 1. You could still potentially run it if you want to build a more aggressive Buggy. But yeah, it doesn't have protection. It's not searchable off the cross-guild searcher event, but still fits pretty well in the deck. And then the last one, this pains me to talk about this one here, because this card used to be the MVP of the deck, and then now I was running it at 4, now 3, 2, and now I've taken it out completely. It probably should be running at least 1 of, probably, but my current build has 0. He plays a 5-cost, and as you can see, there's a lot of 5 costs here in this list. Or on this screen right here. You could, if you wanted to run more of the 5/7 promo Croc or the Vanilla Daz Bones, you could definitely add the Croc back in. You could also add the 6,000 power Daz Bones if you'd like as well, to give him more targets. But ultimately, every single time I have a Croc and Mihawk in my hand, I'd rather play that and play a 4-cost rather than Croc into any of these other options. So that's why it's been taken out of the deck for now, kind of taking a back seat. Again, it pains me because he used to be the MVP. But yeah, these are all the other cross-guild cards. Again, if you were to add some, I'd add the 7-cost Croc and the 5-cost Croc. Those would probably be the ones I'd add the most. I just want to talk about those. You can sprinkle a couple of these in to your liking. For For the last portion of the deck building, I'd like to talk about some tech cards you can add that can just help you with some bad matchups, or maybe improve consistency, or just make the deck a little bit stronger. All these cards I have tested. I'm sure there's other cards you could add as well, but these are all the ones that came to my mind. First off, we want to start off with Love Mellow. This is an event that allows you to tap 2. It's a counter event, and you go +4, but you also get a situational draw if you have 3 or less cards in hand. Roranor TCG, who's been one of the top Buggy players, he runs it. He was I'd tested it before, and I always find myself pitching it. I gave it another shot again when I saw his success in Amsterdam and how he said it's a really strong card. To me, I don't personally like it. To me, it's situational. You have to leave 2 Dawn up to get a situational draw. But I see it. You can definitely run it if you like. The next one is Sanji's Pilaf. A lot of deck lists will have Sanji's Pilaf. I'm somewhat of a Pilaf hater myself. To me, it's great play on 3 Dawn to draw 2 cards. It's probably the best play you could do on 3 Dawn. And it's also amazing to hit it off of a trigger. Other than that, you're pitching it, and it's kind of expensive if you think about it. Your hand size just goes +1. It's kind of 3 Dawn to do that. Late game, I'd rather have like a searcher event in there, like a cross guild searcher, so you could still go about doing your deck's plan. And I'd rather draw one card that I can choose rather than 2 random cards. You could still definitely add it in if people are starving you, but to me, I don't personally like this card as much. Moving on to one that I actually really like a lot is Houndblaze. Houndblaze allows you to bottom deck a 2 cost or less, and then have a character or leader gain +3000 for the turn. Trigger also allows you to bounce a 3 cost to hand. Trigger's not really too much. But it's just one that allows you to get rid of annoying cards, specifically like the yellow Veggie blocker. You can bottom deck that while also still being aggressive and gaining some extra power. You can change the math a little bit too when going for lethal on your opponent. So yeah, I like this card. Next is one that's like, I might not even consider it a tech card anymore because of how much of a staple it is. It's Sables. It's searchable off of Galdino, but not the Cross Guild event. Activate main, you're able to bounce a 7 cost. This hits all of the troublesome cards that we need to get rid of before we can 10 cost Buggy. Specifically, it gets rid of Sanji and Pudding when it's been buffed by the Merry-Go stage. It gets rid of Beer Luffy even when it's been buffed by Leader Effect. It gets rid of Cavendishes, Jinbeis. It really is a strong card, and its trigger, if you hit a trigger late, it could legitimately win you the game because it's activate main. You get to bounce a 7 cost. It's an incredibly strong card. I run it at 2. You could definitely run it at more. I wouldn't run it at less than 2. Up next is another removal event. It's very similar to Sables, but it's a little bit more permanent solution. It's 3,000 worlds. It bottom decks a 5,000 power or less for the same cost as Sables. So if you wanted to make sure that Sanji and Pudding stays dead, you could bottom deck it. The only problem is that if things are buffed by stage or their cost is buffed, it can't hit 6 costs. It only hits 5 costs. So to me, I'd rather run Sables. But if you want a more permanent solution, you could definitely run that. Next is Red Rock, and to be honest, I would not run Red Rock unless you really want to stick it to Blackbeard players, because your Buggy is your Red Rock getaway. Like, you get to tap 5 and pitch a card, you could just cast the Buggy at any point and Red Rock something. That being said, you can't do that against Teach because they're probably shutting off your on plays at that point. So you could just tech this in, but to me, I would not run Red Rock. Lastly, in terms of events, is probably the strongest blue card in general is Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. First off, its trigger, bottom deck of 5 cost. That's such a high cost. That's such a great trigger. But its effect, you get to bottom deck 2 6 costs. This is just incredibly strong of a card. You could definitely run this. I don't like to run it myself personally because it doesn't fit with your deck's goal. You can't play bodies towards leader effect. or towards 10 cost Buggy effect. Can't really do anything. It's pretty much your entire turn if you play that. That being said, maybe you want to bottom deck some things, but I just like getting creative with like Sables, where Sables you can bottom or you can bounce something to hand and then also play a 4 cost, going towards your deck's goal of being able to fill up your board of 5 costs and then 10 cost Buggy. So to me, I don't personally like this card, but if you want to run it for sure, you can definitely run it. Getting into some character cards, we have Marguerite. I don't like this card at all. It allows you to draw a card, so it essentially replaces itself. It's a blocker, but it's a low power blocker. It also, if you wanted to swing it for some random reason, you can't because of promo Buggy, and it's a brick. If it wasn't a brick, it could be useful, but to me, I'd just rather run Richie. I know Richie doesn't draw you a card, but Richie just seems like a better chump blocker. One that I've definitely come full circle on is Pudding. I originally did not like Pudding because it's not a 5 cost. You're putting bodies into or putting cards into your deck that don't satisfy leader or the 10 cost ability. To me, it didn't seem like the move, but this card's so strong. There's even if running at 1 of, it's just nice to know it's in your deck because some people's hands will get so big against you, like blue purple, green purple sometimes. Just knowing that this is in your deck, 1 could put fear into your opponent, and 2 just gives you a lot of ease knowing that if you draw into it, you can pretty much win the game and get their hand size down. Next, maybe my favorite tech card now is the Doflamingo. I wasn't originally running this one because it's not cross guild, it doesn't get any protection, but I think this card actually solves a lot of the deck's problems. It's similar to Sables. It has the same effect as Sables in that it bounces a 7 cost to hand, so it hits all those troublesome cards, but you get to do it while establishing a body. So before, like if you were going first on your 5 Dawn or on your 7 Dawn turn, and if they'd played something like a Cavendish, or they'd played something like a Beer Luffy, or Sanji and Pudding, for example, you'd have to wait until your 9 Dawn turn to be able to remove it if you wanted to continue with your deck's goal of filling up your board with cards that could count as a 5 cost. This allows you to do that on 7 Dawn. You can play this, bounce a Sanji and Pudding back to hand, and you've established a body that's a strong body. To me, this card fits incredibly well. I run it at 2. You can always pitch it if you don't need it. You don't really play it unless it's your 7 or 8 Dawn turn. You don't play it on 10 Dawn typically because at that point you're playing Buggies. So you can pitch it at that point. It's very situational, but I think it solves the deck's problem of that random spot of right around a 7 or 8 Dawn where you need to remove a body while also playing a body. And then the last tech card I'm going to talk about is the Snake Man Rush Luffy. This card might just be a little bit greedy to play, but I kind of like it because it catches your opponent off guard. 1, you're establishing a rusher. 2, you can bounce a 4 cost back to hand. So like they might be in a spot where they feel totally comfortable and they have a blocker, and you just play a rusher and you bounce their blocker back to hand. One of the main selling points to me from my friend Gabe on this card was that you could constantly remove veggie blockers back to hand against Green Yellow Law, which is an incredibly tough matchup. So I run this at 1 of. It's kind of a fun card. Again, it might be a little bit greedy to run it, but definitely a fun card to play. And that's all the tech cards that I would like to talk about. I'm sure there's some other ones out there, but these are the ones I've heavily considered. My favorites are Houndblaze, Sables, and Dofi, and then I also run a 1 of Pudding and a 1 of Snake Man. But I think Houndblaze at 1, Sables at 2, and Dofi at 2, they feel like musts to me. The other ones, they're to your liking, they're to your choices. So yeah, add these cards as you see fit. Lastly, I just want to show off the current deck I'm running, the current build. If you would ask me a week ago, it would have been a little bit different, and it might be a little bit different in a week from now. But this is currently what I'm running. The tech cards kind of in there are one Pudding, 1 Houndblaze, 2 Sables. We got the 2 Dofies up at the top, and then one Snake Man Luffy. You could obviously tweak those to see how you see fit. I really like this build. If I were to change anything, it'd probably be take the Snake Man out for 1 7-cost Croc. That would just be to up consistency. But I like that Snake Man as of right now because, like I said, it's a fun card you can catch people off guard with, and it's only a 1-of. But yeah, you could definitely take that out to add either a second pudding or a 7-cost Croc. I probably would add a 7-cost Croc just in case I wanted to add 1 extra insurance of a body that can play another body. But yeah, this is the current build. I really like this deck. And yeah, enjoy. The first general tip is to always choose to go first, whether you win the dice roll or you win Rochambeau per the rules. If you win, you elect to go first. Going first is just a better curve. Going second's not bad, but going first is what you want to do. Let's take a look at an ideal curve going first. What you're going to do is you're going to start off with a Galdino Searcher, then you're going to do on 3 Dawn, maybe multiple, swing big. On 5, you're going to Croc and Mihawk into Alvita or something along those lines. 7, do it again, and then on 9, you're ready to Buggy. And from there, just drop multiple Buggies. Hopefully you can Buggy once a turn, maybe even multiple times on multiple turns. But from there, you just go on to dominate and win the game. Going second isn't as ideal, but you could still win. On your 2 Dawn turn, hopefully you can search twice. Then on 4 Dawn, hopefully you can Buggy into Mihawk. On 6 Dawn, Croc and Mihawk into Alvita or something along those lines. 8 Dawn, do the same thing over again. And on 10 Dawn, hopefully you can double Buggy. You do get the double Buggy, but you get the Buggy later. And also your 4 Dawn turn, you really have to hope to hit Buggy and Mihawk or have an Alvita. There's not a great play on 4 Dawn. That's why it's not as good. The next general tip I could say is take lives. The first 2 hits, you're going to want to take at least the first 2 hits. I almost always take the first 2 hits. Sometimes there's a little bit of they're testing you by putting like 3 Dawn on here. But here's an example. This opponent swinging their Kuma into me, and then I'm going to take the hit. I get the trigger, so kind of lucky to get a trigger there. And then they're going to swing 5 again, and I'm going to take this same hit again. The reason you're taking these hits is you keep the hand size up. I'm thinking about whether to counter, but I'm going to take the hit because you keep the hand size up. Lucky to trigger again. Keep the hand size up. You get fuel for the fire that hopefully you can hit your combos, find your pieces, and then pop off with the Buggies in the late game. So that's the idea behind taking the first 2 hits. The next general rule I would say is don't swing your board, or at least be careful how you swing your board. When you have the Croc and Mihawk out, they can't remove things by effects, which makes your board very sticky. The only way your board can be removed is via battle. So if you don't swing your board, then your board can't be removed. You can stack your board up, and then you can start dropping 10 costs. Here's just an example. It's not the best example, but here's an example where I'm going to be playing a blue-purple player. I have a Croc and Mihawk already out. I'm going to establish a Croc and Mihawk again, and we're going to continue to fill up our board. Next turn, I'm going to be ready to Buggy, but what I'm going to do is we're going to see is I'm not going to put Dawn on Alvita and swing. I'm not even going to swing the Croc and Mihawk. There's some instances where I think you should swing the Croc and Mihawk just because they're probably not going to be able to kill it in battle. But I want to keep that standing because I don't want him putting any Dawn on swinging a big number into that. Then I'm going to swing 6 with lead. And another reason why you shouldn't swing is because you can ramp your opponent with a Thunder Bagwell. So yeah, I would not swing my board until you're ready to start dropping the 10 cost Buggies.
First half, maintain. And then the second half, go the f*** off.
So get off your act, let's do some math.
Now, I would like to showcase some plays and show how the math can affect your hand size. I'm going to demonstrate first the scenario that I think is the best combo for keeping your hand size healthy while still establishing 2 bodies, which is Croc and Mihawk into Alvita. Here we're going to start with 6 cards in hand. We can count them out. We have 6 cards in hand. We're going to leader effect, tap 5, pitch a card. So we pitch the promo Buggy to play the Croc and Mihawk. Croc and Mihawk first effect, we draw 2, trash 1. Let's just pitch the Dofi, and then now we can play down the Alvita. So we play down the Alvita, we draw 3, trash 2. We're going to trash the Cross Guild event, and probably a 2K Kabashi. And now you can see at the end of this play, we've established 2 bodies for 5 Dawn, and we have 5 cards in hand. Our hand size is incredibly healthy. We only really went down 1 for leader effect. An incredibly strong play. Now we're going to demonstrate another one in which you play 2 cards that don't replace themselves, that don't have draw 2 trash 1s. This is something we've seen before and we've kind of come to accept, and we don't talk about being a hand size taxer. But here again, starting with 6 cards in hand, I'm going to leader ability, tap 5, pitch a card. I'm going to play promo Buggy, and I'm going to play that into a Kabaji blocker. Not the best play. We end up with 3 cards in hand, but one that we've kind of accepted and we don't talk about being taxing on the hand. We did go -3. Now let's talk about a play that everyone talks about being incredibly taxing on the hand, which is going to be Croc and Mihawk into Buggy into Mihawk. Here's the 3 cards. And we start with 6 cards in hand again. So let's demonstrate what it is. We pitch a card, we tap 5, we play the Croc and Mihawk. We draw 2, trash 1, pitch the Dofi. We'll play the Buggy down. We'll activate main of Buggy to sacrifice him along with another card in hand to play down the Mihawk. Draw 2, trash 1. We ended up with 3 cards in hand. This is the same as the last scenario. This scenario we get talked about a lot as incredibly taxing on the hand and one you should avoid to do, which is true. You do go down in hand size, but it's not something that we're not accustomed to. And I think this is an incredibly strong play in the right moments to establish 2 7K bodies, one being a blocker and one being able to protect your board.
I done the math. Checks out.
I wanted to take a second here to discuss some potentially really bad matchups. I'm not going to discuss all the matchups. I'm not going to go into crazy detail about these matchups, but I just wanted to bring them up. The theme of these is aggression that cannot be shut off by 7-cost promo Buggy. Generally, how we lose the game is we don't get to do our deck's goal, which is build our board and start dropping 10-cost Buggies. And generally, how we lose is because we get aggroed before we can get to that spot. Promo Buggy is an amazing tool to shut off the aggro, but there's some decks that have aggression that cannot be shut off. The first one I want to talk about is Yamato, green-yellow Yamato. Yamato has double attack, so they could put as much as they want on leader and swing double attack, and it can be incredibly tough. They have a bunch of cards that rest blockers and a bunch of cards that can give vanish. It can just be really tough. The second one, probably the hardest matchup in my opinion, is green-purple Luffy. This deck in particular just has a ton of answers to everything we're trying to do. One of the things is they have access to stage, the Marigo stage, that can buff 4 costs up so that they can attack and get over the promo Buggy. They're also constantly getting more Dawn and able to swing more numbers. They have the secret Luffy, which can restand. And then on the back end, if we were to be able to have a chance to aggro them back in a way, they have Gum Gum Giant, which is just an incredibly tough card to deal with late game. The last leader specifically I want to talk about is Green Yellow Law. They spit out a whole bunch of 5 costs pretty early, and it can get really troublesome. What I found the best way to deal with this matchup is you need to be able to punch them back because they're taking their life to do play some of these 5 costs. So if you can play some 7,000 powers and swing them and get aggressive right back at them, you might be able to steal the game. The cards that are most clutch in this matchup is 4-cost Buggy and 6-cost Mihawk. In my opinion, you absolutely need to hit these. If you're going second, you're already at a disadvantage. If you're going second, you need to hit this play on 4 Dawn to have any chance. And if you are going first, the strongest play you can make is Croc and Mihawk into those 2. You need to get 2 7K bodies out because you need to start. Well, against Yamato, you need a blocker, and against the other 2, you need a 7K body. You swing the Mihawk, and you can really just aggro them back in a way. The last card that can really come in handy is Sables. Most of the cards in these decks are 7 costs or less. Specifically, they're usually around 5 costs. And this card can just, if you hit it off trigger for 1, you might go on to win the game. But yeah, just a clutch card in the matchup. Just wanted to touch on these. There's obviously some other ones. And next set, Green Zoro seems like it's going to be tough as well. But just wanted to discuss some potential poor matchups. Well, that just about wraps everything up. If you have any questions or anything, we have a Discord. Feel free to join in. We have a good community. I've learned a lot from the people in the community. Any questions, you can always reach out at any time. I also want to give a quick couple shouts out to 2 content creators. They're omixed_. I might be pronouncing these wrong. I don't know these people personally, but omixed_ and Rubber City Games. They've both been putting out Buggy content. I've watched a lot of them playing Buggy. So yeah, I just wanted to say shouts out to them. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys, and see you next time.